Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our first How Do They Do That Live of this school year. And our topic today is going to be distance learning best practices. And my name is Alexandra Hancock, and I'm going to be your Master of Ceremonies today. We have a couple of great topics for you today to learn a little bit more about distance learning and some tips and tricks, and we have 4 great presenters. I just want to give you a little bit of context for how they do that live, just so you kind of understand the whole idea behind this event. So how they do that live is really designed to take great things that are happening in the classroom and really amplify that across the district. So we know that there's a lot of great innovation happening with ed tech in the classroom, and sometimes you know your colleague is doing something great, or you hear about something awesome at another school, but you don't really hear, kind of some district-wide tips and tricks that are happening. And so that's kind of the idea of the genesis behind this whole series of webinars is we really want to take those really good teaching practices that have really strong ed tech integration in them, and we want to actually broadcast that to a much wider audience. So this really isn't me and my team talking to you and training you. This is actually going to be those teacher voices, and that's who we have presenting with us today. The first topic on the table is going to be course organization, and that's just going to be some tips and tricks on how to manage your courses within Schoology. And our first presenter with kind of a TK6 focus is going to be Kimberly Smith, and then we'll go over to Ann Veneman for kind of a 7-12 focus. And then we're going to shift topics and talk about how you can build rapport with kids. A lot of us have really great tips and tricks for building relationships in the in-person classroom, but it's a lot harder when it's just you and a webcam and a bunch of little computer icons. So Elisa Bateman has some great tips and tricks for our K6 students, and then Jacob Navarrete is going to end us today, and he's got kind of that 7-12 perspective, and he's doing some really awesome things I'm excited to share with you guys. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and turn this over to Kimberly. I just want to let you know that if you do have any questions, you can post those in the Q&A, and my whole team is monitoring the Q&A. We will answer those questions as we are able to. So feel free to post in the Q&A, and without further ado, Kim, I'll have you go ahead and get started.
Thank you for that. I am Kimberly Smith. I'm a TK teacher over at Burbank Elementary. My topic today is course organization. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So I'm going to specifically be talking about synchronous and asynchronous. So last spring, we were told as a TK through 6 group that we should assign all of our assignments and use only the homeroom. I continued with that this year, where I use my homeroom as my asynchronous work, where the students go to get their classwork and any enrichment activities that I have there for them. And then in my language arts course, I use this for my direct instruction or my synchronous part of my lessons or of the day. And that's kind of the rough overview of my courses that I use in Schoology. Go ahead and click to the next one. Thank you. So again, I use homeroom for my asynchronous or classwork and enrichment, and I use my language arts for my direct instruction, and then students can go back and review anything that's in there. Go ahead and click. So specifically in my, thank you. Specifically in my homeroom, these are some buttons that I've added to my announcements that students will click on. They are directly linked to the files below. I do want to say that when I made these, I specifically went through and did a screencast for my parents so that they knew how to utilize these buttons. There are files down at the bottom also where it says finish assignments, and that's an example of this week's assignment, September 14th through 18th. I did, like I said, I sent a screencast to them to let them know how to use these buttons. In the middle there, you can see a little bit, it says weekly schedule, holding a pencil correctly videos, scissor skills videos. I just wanted to add in there when I am assigning things or showing parents, I usually assign it as a page. And then when I'm assigning classwork, I do it in folders. So it's actual assignments. So they're organized by folders. The folders are usually by the week. If you were to click on the week, it would open up to 6 folders then that would say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then the 6th one would be enrichment. And then within those, there are assignments. And then, like I was saying in the middle right there where it says weekly schedule, those are all pages. I keep them open at first when I first assign them, and then once they've been there for a while, I close them so they just show the blue link there. At the bottom, Matthew Ketchum's video is still open because I still have a couple of more parents who haven't figured out Teams yet, and so I'm keeping that open until they're all able to figure it out. Go ahead and click. Thank you. In my language arts course, this is where I keep my direct instructions. I usually put my slides in there. You'll see, again, I had said earlier that I teach TK. Those are my letter slides and my color slides. We go through that, and I also have assignments there. I usually keep all of those as pages and slides that I've inserted in there. And I think that might be it.
Okay, thank you, Kimberly, for your great tips and tricks. I especially liked how you had your announcements as like a dashboard and you linked to some different things. I don't see that we had any questions about that topic for the K-6 level. It looks like we might be having a couple tech issues, so hopefully we can kind of get those people on and hearing things. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and shift over to our 7-12 course organization tips and tricks. So Anne, go ahead.
Hi there, my name's Ann Veneman. Hopefully you can hear me. My thing is showing it's not. Hold on. Okay, hi, Ann Veneman. I am a high school teacher at Peter Johansson High School, and I'm going to show you how I organize my Schoology class. Can you click to the next slide for me? So I teach English. So my very first thing when students land on my page, they click on my course, the very first thing they see at the top of the page is a daily announcement. I'm on a block schedule, so I don't see students every day. So about 10 minutes before the start of class, I generally post what we're doing for the day at the top of the class page in the announcements. This makes sure that it's pinned to the top, and then it generally has what students need for the day. You can see here in this very front photo, I usually say good morning, and then a list of what they need for the day, like their notebook, what tabs they might need open, so that during class we're not spending a lot of time looking for things. And this way they have an idea of where we're going for the day and they can get themselves prepared. I also here tell them if we're going to be meeting in conferences or teams. You all know the internet issues that we've been having, the tech issues that we can't avoid. So I always let them know if conferences is up, we're meeting conferences or teams. And this is also where I could tell them like, hey, I don't have internet today. Here's a list of assignments. As you can see in that back one, that's what they did today. Next slide. So my folders for the weeks are laid out weekly. At the very top of that page though, are my slides and lectures by date, and that is pinned to the top so that they always know where they can go back if they missed information. You can see in the second photo, my slides and lectures by date. I always categorize these with the most recent at the top. This is where they can go, and in my slides, like they have the objective for the day, and then anything that we talked about or new material, it's in there with all the newest stuff at the top. You can also see here that on the left-hand picture, I have my folders by week. And I usually like to put a picture there just so they have kind of like an idea or a topic of what we're studying that week. We've been reading a story called Marigolds. So there's a lot of flower pictures on my courses right now. Next slide, please. Within these weekly folders though, I try to keep it super simple for them just because they've already got a lot on their plate. So I break it down by day. So I see them on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And so every weekly folder that I have is going to be in that format. Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, all the same colors, all the same format. Within those folders, you can see that there is always a warm-up. That helps me with attendance tracking, just so I can see, hey, they did the warm-up at the beginning of the day, they were here on time for class, and then any assignments for that day. I used to, when we were, in person, I would have all my assignments per quarter or per unit all in the same folder. This way it's just a little bit easier for them to navigate because they always know, like, okay, maybe I had tech issues that day. I can just go to the Tuesday folder and everything for that day that I missed is in that exact folder. Week 5, last week we had a short week, so I have less folders there, but this makes it really easy for the students to navigate because it's all consistent. Next slide, and I believe, yeah, I think my slide duplicated. I do keep my newest stuff at the top. Oh, sorry. I do keep my newest stuff at the top. And then, of course, the assignments in there. And then I have kind of a throwaway folder at the very bottom of all of my weekly folders called resources. I just throw anything in there that they're not going to need to access all the time, like links to their vocabulary website or my syllabus or any extra ancillary readings. But other than that, there's my organization. Let me know if you have questions.
Thank you, Anne and Kimberly, for sharing some great tips and tricks. I do see kind of a couple questions coming in that I just kind of want to ask out loud so everyone's able to hear them. So I do see here that one person has a question of how do you pin something to the top? And there's kind of a couple different ways that you can do that, and it really depends on how you'd like to do that. One of the ways that Kimberly went over, is you can actually make any course update and announcement. And announcements will always stay up at the top of your course. Another way that you could do something is kind of what Anne went over. You could have a folder and just make sure you keep that folder all the way up at the top with easy access to any resources or anything like that. So you got a couple different ways you can do it. You can do an announcement and just put that announcement right in there, or you could just make a folder and just make sure that as you're ordering your Schoology materials, you just keep that folder up at the top. One little tip that you may or may not be aware of is any material in Schoology, you just can click and hold and drag to reorder it. So you would just maybe be mindful of dragging something to the top, keeping it at the top so students always know it's there, and then kind of bringing stuff in down below that. I also really liked how Kimberly and Anne were really visual with their course. They had pictures on their folders. Kimberly embedded a lot of materials, so it was really visual for her K-6 students. So thank you guys for sharing those tips. And then we were going to talk about a couple other ways you could organize things, but I don't know if that slide made it into our slide deck today. So I just want you guys to kind of, as an audience, see there's lots of ways you can organize your materials for your students. And yeah, it looks like that slide didn't quite make it in there. That's okay. There's lots of ways you can organize materials for your students. You can do it by week, like Anne does here. I liked Kim's idea of, having a finished folder, so as you wrap up activities, you can kind of move them out of sight, out of mind. And I think it's really going to be key to kind of develop an understanding of your students and what they respond to, and that might help kind of guide how you organize your materials. I think however you do organize your materials, though, it is really important to have some sort of consistent organization. And I do like the color coding that a couple of our teachers have shown here. Like it looks like Anne every Tuesday or every beginning of the week is green. Every Friday it looks like it's purple. So I think that kind of helps as well. I see more comments coming in here that some people organize by week. And Christina just wants to know if there's a way to get to the assignments without having to dig through each week. You certainly can use those reminders on the side, or you can go into the grade book, and each grade column has the assignment linked directly at the top as well. And it looks like we're getting some good feedback of a lot of people doing really similar things. So great topics there. And as always, if you have any questions about how to set up these folders, how to get pictures in, how to embed pictures in Schoology, definitely feel free to reach out to myself, Alexandra, or Angela, and we're happy to send you some more information on getting your course organized. And it looks like questions are kind of dying down just a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and shift into our second topic. Although I do see one comment that came in really quickly. I want to shout out. Kimberly made screencasts for her parents. And somebody said they really liked that. I'm going to echo that. I think anytime you can provide really clear how-to instructions for your students and parents, that's always going to be a winner, especially for our K-6 level. Schoology is kind of new to a lot of these kids. Schoology is really brand new to the parents. So creating any kind of instructional video and just posting that is going to be fabulous. So I really like that. And we got lots of people sharing how they organize, and I think that's great too. So we'll definitely share out some of these comments when we send our follow-up email tomorrow.